Hey guys, good evening. What a paper it was. शॉक लगा थोड़ा सा, जल्दी जल्दी कमेंट मारते जाओ। अगर शॉक लगा है पेपर में तो कमेंट बॉक्स में दिखना चाहिए कितने लोगों को शॉक लगा, जितने लोग अटेंड कर रहे हो अभी ये सेशन. So we are going quickly live. So till now अभी आप लोगों ने गोविंद सर और गौतम बाबा सर को सुना. I joined at the very last moment. I could manage that. But now we are going. We are with all the experts now here as part of the detailed analysis. Rahul sir is joining. Siddharth sir is already there. Govind sir is already there. So we'll go ahead with the detailed exam analysis. Your inputs are very, very important. कैसा गया पेपर, कितने अटेम्प्ट किए, how many of you attempted, how many you think are right, just put that in the comment box. That's very, very important. So first thing first, I think we should appreciate. I think more than anybody else, we should appreciate the Honorable Supreme Court. Last year जो bashing मिली है उसका थोड़ा अच्छा तो दिखा इस बार. That's what I would say. कि last year जो bashing मिली and I think I would go a step ahead. I'll take the name of the Honorable Judge from the Delhi High Court, Justice Jyoti Singh. अगर उन्होंने पेपर पे सॉल्व ना किया होता, ये सब नहीं होता, तो आई थिंक इतने लेवल तक नहीं जाते. पहले भी गलतियां हुई थी, बट दिस टाइम पेपर वाज मोर और लेस एक्सेप्ट फॉर वन क्वेश्चन व्हिच वी ऑल हैव अग्रीड सो फार. एग्जाम के तुरंत बाद आ रहे हैं. आई थिंक मोर और लेस पेपर वी कैन से वाज एरर फ्री. लास्ट ईयर वाली स्टोरी रिपीट नहीं हो रही है, या उसके पहले साल कुछ और साल थे जहां पे ऐसी स्टोरी थी, वो रिपीट नहीं हो रहा है, which is the best part. Of course, everybody was shocked looking at how the orders were stacked. दूसरा, सैंपल पेपर जो दिया, अगर आप सैंपल पेपर दे रहे हो और उसको फॉलो नहीं कर रहे हो तो उसका पहली बात मतलब क्या था? दिस वाज द क्वेश्चन आई हैव बीन आस्किंग फॉर द लास्ट 5 days. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, द टाइमिंग ऑफ द सैंपल पेपर. व्हाट वाज द नीड टू गिव दैट सैंपल पेपर इन 5 days before the exam? Were you trying to create the panic? Then you were doing stress, managing stress session earlier. Mails were sent to the candidates who had registered. तो वो चीजें नहीं करनी चाहिए थी. So I think in that sense, and then ultimately what happened? Quant में 3 sets दिए थे sample में, यहाँ पे 2 ही पूछा. You stuck to what you have done. In terms of questions across the section, एक minor variation. I'm setting the tone. Legal में 2 question कम करके 2 question logical reasoning में बढ़ाए. So that was the change in terms of the number of questions, and that's how I look at it. So Siddharth sir also gave the paper. We all gave the paper. Siddharth sir, will start with your quick reaction, and before we move section by section.
Right. So, see, my take is that I mean, there was element of surprise. There were quite a few, in fact, element of surprise in logical reasoning. Of course, was the big surprise. 26 questions and 3 AR sets. Right. Not that students were not aware about AR can come, because last year एक set आया था. Most of our mocks had at least 1 set of AR, but 3 set nobody expected. It was good in a way. I mean, because it was surprise for everyone. So जो उसको tackle किया वो अच्छा करेगा. एक differentiator तो वो था. Not that these sets were very straightforward. ये अपने आप में भी challenging sets थे, not very straightforward. So couple of sets had some difficulty level, I would say moderate to difficult. So logical reasoning was a surprise. In legal there were 7 to 8 questions which were based on legal knowledge, nothing related to passage. So if somebody knows about it, then fine. Otherwise, that was another surprise, because 7-8 is a big number in legal. So these two things combined, plus English, I think level of difficulty was at par, maybe slightly more than last year, not very difficult, but number of passages being 5, that was a change. Otherwise, quant and GK to expected lines mein tha. There was nothing in quant and GK, but logical reasoning and legal, these two sections, the type of questions, uske wajah se there were students may find it bit difficult.
So students, please put in your attempts. Please put in your क्या लग रहा है तुम्हें, क्या डिफिकल्टी फेस किया. बट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कितना अटेम्प्ट किया वो तो बताओ, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है. चेंज ऑफ ऑर्डर की वजह से कोई धक्का लगा, कितना अटेम्प्ट किया आप लोगों ने, कितने आपको लगते हैं कि आपके हिसाब से करेक्ट होना चाहिए, पुट दैट इन द कमेंट बॉक्स. Okay, so Samriddhi is saying 105, Lemon is saying 91, 113, Ritika is saying 91, Ajay is saying 91. So, quite a few you have done more than 100 actually. So 100, 108, 110, 111. Wonderful. So Govind, your inputs quickly. Rahul sir is also there, by the way.
Yes, sir. I completely concur with Siddharth sir that barring a few surprises, the paper was fairly easy to moderate. English section, most of the students we were discussing when Gautam sir and I were discussing, most students found the English section to be fairly easy. Getting an echo. Just a second. Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
All right. So legal section was also fairly easy. Most students found it relatively easier among the other sections. Quant this year surprisingly was approachable for most students. When Gautam sir and I were discussing, a lot of students positively attempted the quant section. A lot of students were confident about the quant section as well. So that was something which was positive in this year's paper. And the GK section for students who were well prepared, I think it was fairly approachable.
Wait.
We're getting an echo again. Might be some glitch in the sound. I'll recheck this. Till then, I think Rahul sir can take over.
Yeah, Rahul, you can go ahead. Aapke inputs.
Right. So
First impressions.
first impression, I think yes. I think we have to factor in the surprises and the impact it has on the students. Sitting in a studio, it's very different. We can say, okay, what difference does it make if the sections go? But remember, they have given 40, 50, 60 marks, each thinking that, first section will be this, second section will be this, and I will spend this much time, move here. So there is so much of, that surprise element. Similarly, while analytical was prepared for not 3 of them, even the fourth set wasn't really the traditional logical reasoning, critical reasoning. That was also based on some evidence and other things. See, again, when you deconstruct it, it's not that difficult. It is just that it's a sense of unpreparedness, and that kind of shakes you a little bit. And but of course, it also, as a paper, differentiates the mentally strong versus the others. So I think some of the students who are very well prepared and who've taken a lot of marks, they are saying, yes, there were surprises, but we did attempt 100 plus, 110, 115, 114. These are the numbers that I'm getting from the stars group, for example. But a lot of the regular students who are not that well prepared, I think they are expressing surprise and kind of, trashing the paper and so on. I mean, I have my own reasons to criticize the paper, but I think trashing the paper kind of shows their frustration. So definitely some students were affected. So that's one thing. And the other thing I think you talked about is, while overall I would say this paper was tougher than last year, we have to factor in that the cutoff has to be for 119 as opposed to 113 last year. Right? It's not an apples to apples comparison. We are comparing a paper out of 119, what's the cutoff, vis-a-vis last year, which was 113, what was the cutoff. So in that sense, while the difficulty level would decrease the cutoff, you also have 6 more attempts.
Yeah, but this is the interesting part. All of us are saying 119.
What is the impact on that? Yeah. And last year also there was big impact on people who just broke their heads on that AR set because it was wrong, and then their confidence went down, wasted time, all that. How do you factor in that impact on the cutoff? Very difficult to say. Yes.
Okay.
So I would not put it much further from last year. So as a range, I think it's within range of last year, cutoff wise.
Great. So while we move on to one by one for each of these sections, all of us are saying 119, but we don't know consortium will accept that fault or not. So let's also factor in that actually. So Govind, we can move on to the section-wise analysis. I think the kids are waiting for that. But by the way, Samriddhi in the comment box is saying legal के 2 पैसेज हटा देने चाहिए. क्यों हटा देने चाहिए? Samriddhi, please give the reason for that. We'll also talk about that. Okay, so Siddharth, we can start with, or Rahul, I think better we start with here. Both of you are you were talking about this earlier as well. So let's start with English. Siddharth.
Yeah. So the change was 5 passages. The number of passages were 5, but not very difficult to read, easy to read passages. Um, I think that there was one question which was on, say, figure of speech, that would have caused problem to the students maybe. uh, Otherwise, apart from that, not there were not many questions that could have caused problem. So 22 23 is a good attempt, and there wasn't much scope for mistake here. I mean, even the questions were straightforward, not many questions where you have to read cannot or accept or negate negative, so those elements were not there. So fairly straightforward section, well made. Thankfully, there was nothing which I could say was beyond the passage. Any question checking that was beyond the passage, but maybe 2 or 3 mistakes, not more than that.
So fairly easy, I think, and the length of the passages, I don't think that would have posed any problem as such. So it was fairly easy reading, kind of. 323 on an average. I think the passages were around 300, 335 words. So I think it was more comfortable for them. So talking about the GK section, I think moving on. These were the topics. I think to some extent, I think there was, while the topics are quite familiar, one topic where most students might have faced problem, which I believe is that chess wala, जहां पर उनको थोड़ा इशू हुआ होगा. बट बाय द वे ये अपने मॉक में तो हमने कवर किया ही था, जो स्टूडेंट्स ने लिखा होगा काउंटडाउन मॉक में ये आ चुका था. एंड इनफैक्ट मोस्ट ऑफ देम Govind also covered in his session. Some of them I had covered actually. Technical questions, if I talk about, if you let's say talk about the last in my set, it was the last passage, Air India crash, where they are talking about the technical perspective, like which of the Boeing variety type it was. I think this is where most students might have got stuck to some extent. Some students definitely would have got stuck with the agency which is probing the crash. I think मुझे लगता है ना कहीं पर यहाँ पर Govind, if you have seen the paper, of course, एयरपोर्ट वाले क्वेश्चन पे भी थोड़ा फंस सकते हैं बच्चे. आई थिंक कौन सा पर्टिकुलर एयरपोर्ट था, क्योंकि वो कंफ्यूज कर दिया लंदन के सारे ऑप्शंस दे करके. एसईओ शुड नॉट बी अ प्रॉब्लम. मुझे लगता है कि जो एसईओ वाला सेट था, समिट था, तो बच्चे तो डेफिनेटली करते हैं. एंड इनफैक्ट I'm having the paper right in front of me. The only place they might be anywhere confusion अगर इस पैसेज के रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन में आएगा, तो आई थिंक दैट इज वुड बी द एसईओ प्रेसिडेंसी, बिकॉज ऑल ऑफ दीज आर नेबर नेशंस. वहां पर थोड़ा फाइट हो सकता है. एक क्वेश्चन ग्रीक वाला जो है, लैटिन टर्म्स का पर्सोना नॉन ग्रेटा, वो यहाँ पूछ दिया. तो लीगल जीके में लीगल आ गया, लीगल में जीके चला गया, सब कुछ किया जिन्होंने. So more or less, I think GK was doable. Out of 28, I think somebody who had prepared enough, I believe 24, 25 तो definitely देख सकते थे. But any good score, 20 to 21, अच्छा एक स्कोर माना जाएगा. Considering, factoring every aspect, actually सारी चीजों को ध्यान में रख के, I think 20 to 21 would be a good score in this paper. Legal, Govind, क्या कहता है?
So legal say a lot of students are a little disappointed because they did not expect that prior legal knowledge would be required to answer a few questions. But this is not a surprise in my opinion, because we have seen this in previous year papers that sometimes factual questions on prior legal GK judgments, recent judgments, something which is like a maxim, these things have been asked in the previous year question papers and mocks as well. Students have practiced these type of questions, so that is something which took students by surprise. Case laws based questions.
Just a minute. There were 5 passages, if I'm not wrong. So we have written 6 passages in legal. Even the subject wise, there are 5 passages only.
Yeah, last year it was 6. It was 5 this year. The statement got wrong. Yeah.
वो थोड़ा सा उसको ठीक कर लो. ठीक है.
Last year it was 6.
Absolutely. So I was saying that most of these topics were predictable. It's not like they were completely out of the box or something unheard of. One nation, one election, we have discussed in class multiple times. So has Salik sir, so has Ayushi ma'am. And Tamil Nadu wala judgment, so we have discussed extensively क्योंकि almost 2 महीने तक इस पे रोज एडिटोरियल आ रहा था तमिलनाडु वाले केस पे. So was same sex marriage, it was also discussed, constitution preamble, basic constitutional knowledge. I think it was fairly easy and approachable for students who were well prepared in terms of legal GK and legal knowledge, constitutional knowledge. And students who were not, those were the students who were slightly disappointed कि sir कैसे prior legal knowledge test कर ली. But sir, what's your take on this?
So before
I
I
think
go-
वाला जो पैसेज था ये सैंपल पेपर में भी था. I mean not the same passage but the same topic, governor power, in the first sample paper that they released. Because I remember Amit and we were discussing this, so it was there.
Yeah, in fact, before I asked for Rahul's input as well, we were all discussing this after the paper. मुझे लगता है ना, why we are factoring in that 4 marks का element. Otherwise, देखा जाए तो every 30 question was doable kind of. It's not that students were not familiar with all this, but I think there are some technicalities where they might get stuck, and this is why they are not feeling happy with the legal, because they usually enjoy the legal. One is जो amendment वाला था ना, that was closed, so I think that they could have confused them. दूसरा जो है विच कमिटी और रिपोर्ट जो साइमल्टेनियस इलेक्शंस का है, उसमें मुझे लगता है लॉ कमीशन भी 2018 में रिकमेंड कर चुका था इसको, और उसके बाद ही आगे बढ़ करके हमने फिर प्रेसिडेंट रामनाथ कोविंद के अंदर जो कमेटी बनाई थी, जो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पूछ ही लिया था उन्होंने, द हाई लेवल कमेटी एक्चुअली. सो आई थिंक यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है. दूसरा मुझे जो लगता है ना, आई थिंक वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन व्हाट हैज बीन राइटली अरेंज्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू द प्रियम्बल, जो सोशलिस्ट सॉवरेन सोशलिस्ट सेकुलर, यहां पर जल्दबाजी में कंफ्यूजन हो सकता है कुछ बच्चों को, शायद ऑर्डर में मिस्टेक कर पाए, जो मुझे लगता है थोड़ा सा तो वहां पर मुझे थोड़ा सा फाइट लगता है. और एक क्वेश्चन ये भी कंफ्यूजिंग है, गिवन द एग्जाम का जो प्रेशर होता है ना, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट इनश्राइंड इन द प्रियम्बल, तो थोड़ा सा यहाँ पर पे वो कंफ्यूजन आ सकता है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी आर फैक्टरिंग इन दैट. अदरवाइज तो मुझे लगता है कि लीगल नॉलेज था, but it was not difficult unlike previous years जहां पे रीजनिंग में आपको प्रायर लीगल नॉलेज अप्लाई करना पड़ता था. It was, I would say legal GK actually, it's not knowledge, it's legal GK.
Just come in.
Rahul, your inputs.
See, my fundamental concern is, look, it is stated that prior knowledge of the law is not required. I think that makes it, see, because you're effectively misleading students by making a statement and then kind of giving it, right? If you tell them that it is needed, then they will prepare. So that, I think, is a concern. So if you actually look at, for example, 5, 8 and 40, 5, 18 and 40 as percentage GST, that came in the legal section. So now, how is that even legal knowledge? That is then GK knowledge. So I think fundamentally that is a concern where people are saying that, look, there is a pattern, there is some instructions you have given, stick to that. And that typically is an issue. Again, remembering things like remembering fundamental rights or preamble makes sense, but then you take it to an extreme where you say, which amendment is this out of 128, 129, 129? Then the same preamble, you want the order of the words. So
Yes.
it does, you do tend to question by aap kya test kar rahe ho? What is the purpose of the testing that you are doing, right? So it's just like, Zelensky ka naam kya hai, General Dyer ka pehle do naam ka kya hai, what is the point? So you tend to ask those kind of questions. Look, boss, after all that happened last year, why do you need to do something like this? That is a question that if you wanted to give legal GK, you could have put an instruction saying, look, this will be asked. That's the
Yes, in fact, Sharans is saying, I did not expect asking them the full form of IA in LGBTQA. I think this is definitely going to, ये question में fight होने वाली है, मतलब, because this is something which most students would struggle. But Rahul, as you said, they always say prior legal knowledge, but we have been debating this internally as well, but they do that every time. What this time they did was, I think I would not term it as legal knowledge, I would term it as legal general knowledge, but still there is an element of GK which should have been part of, otherwise the actual GK section, and they have done that. वहाँ पर भी एक persona non grata पूछा. So I think anyways that we can factor on. So good score, I think 25 बच्चे score कर सकते हैं, but we can factor in that. I think maybe I can slightly lower it up, and 23 to 25 would be, I say, if I give a range, 23-25 कर सकते हैं. One question which I would like to answer, somebody asked this in the comment box before we move on to the next and the very interesting section, which is going to be logical reasoning, and both the experts, all three, other than me, all three mentors are the experts in that domain, so they'll be talking about that. I'll take a back seat. But a question आया था कि what do I read from this paper as far as next year paper is concerned? So let me answer this. You don't read anything from this paper. You don't take any takeaway from this paper, because the question was, what is the takeaway for me for next year? Please don't have any takeaways from this paper, because we don't know next year how many of these sections will be retained or in what format. The reason is, we all are aware, you all are aware, I have spoken about this earlier in one of the sessions. Both there was a committee formed. It invited public opinion. All of us submitted our public opinions, our opinions over there, as mentors, as general public as well. Now the committee recommendation, we don't know when it will come out. So just to give you a hint, the committee is headed by a former justice of Supreme Court, but at the same time, other 5 members, 4 are from international law schools. 3 of them admit LNAT, 1 of them admit through LSAT, and only 1 Indian law school is part of the committee. So what will be the outcome, we don't know. And given the history, I don't expect anything to be communicated before May, June. So continue doing what you are doing. Don't get into too many takeaways or believing anybody else. I think just continue doing what you are doing. If there would be any change, I hope they'll give you 6 months time to adapt to that. So with that, we move on to the next one, which is the most interesting for the day, I believe, and that is logical reasoning. Let's start with Siddharth over here. क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ, कैसे?
This, of course, was a shocker for the students, है ना? मतलब nobody expected that there could be these many AR questions, no critical reasoning. The one question जो वो evidence based था, that also was not per se typical critical reasoning question. And don't know, मतलब many students would have struggled here. So 3 question तो कोई expect नहीं किया था. And then out of these 3 questions of AR, if I take one question at a time, the first one, electrocardiograph, there were multiple interpretations which were possible. In fact, when I was doing it for the first time, I started it, and after 3-4 minutes, I was not getting to any answer. Then I thought there is another interpretation which is possible, and then I did it that way. Then I got the answers. But then that might have created confusion in the mind of the students, right? The sunburst medallion theft, that was, I think, the easier one. Family symbols, little bit of confusion. I mean, how to go about it. Those who have practiced would have found it easy, not very difficult. There was one question which we are saying we believe that it is wrong. Okay. So the remaining 6 were, I think, not very difficult. Puzzle team question was definitely moderate to difficult question, because there were conditions. The language was bit confusing, particularly the 5th condition. If I remember, I don't have paper right now, opponent wala kuch constraint tha. So that was bit confusing. So that question would have caused some problem. I believe that not many would have attempted all the questions. So a good attempt would be around 2022, not more than that, right? And even there, people might, if they have got, the problem with this logical reasoning is also that if I have got one question wrong, there are chances कि मैं और भी 2-3 गलत कर दूंगा, because सब interrelated रहता है. So I think 17-18 would be a very good score in this logical reasoning section, considering the kind of surprise elements जो यहाँ पर थे.
Rahul, what's your take?
Right. So I think largely it is again expect the unexpected kind of thing. So if you're mentally calm, I think this is workable. But if you start panicking, then that's a concern. Electrocardiograph, I think, is it's more of converting the clue into what is to be done. Once you understand that, there isn't much to be done. It's fairly straightforward. Sunburst medallion also looks straightforward, though I'll have to take a deeper look to see if there is anything else in it. Is it as is what we see, what we get, or there is something deeper into it. But as of now, looks okay. The other two, set 3 family symbols and the puzzle team Olympiad, just the newness of these things. These are not the kind of things that a lot of students would have prepared. I think that would push a little bit of pressure on people. The puzzle till Olympiad, especially if you look at the questions, it suggests that more than one case is possible. Me and Siddharth both didn't find a second case to it. Or I had more or less said, I don't want to try. I found one case that works and I marked the answers. So, but yes, that's always that fear that what if there is a second case? What if cannot be determined is the answer? So that's another thing that puts a little bit of pressure. So I agree, 2021, 17, 18 is a good score. I might even, go down 1-2 marks on the good score part, just for that novelty factor and pressure factor kind of stuff.
Let's move on to the last section,
which is QT.
I think one set, because I'm not a QT guy.
Because I'm not a QT.
If you ask me, that's the section like any other law aspirants I fear the most. But I think there were two sets, and the biggest surprise which I found was what was the need for giving 3 sets in the sample papers? What was the message being conveyed? Actually, that's the first thing I'm still wondering. But I think when I started doing it, I had allocated this time 15 minutes to myself. I think in my paper, the second set wala, that green energy, the state electricity report, I think that was something which most students would have done it if they would have given that 5-7 minutes to this. मुझे लगता है doable था. Second वाला थोड़ा time consuming था. I think the health insurance वाला. First of all, उसमें भी I'm sure you guys have more inputs to add. First passage was all story. I think I don't understand what was the need of talking about how health insurance plays a vital role in influencing financial protection and all. I mean, that story, for a moment I thought, is this really the quant section, or is this something English or LR or something like that? One entire paragraph was wasted in building the story, and then you have the data. So मुझे लगा कि शायद पहला सेट आराम से कर सकते हैं. And the other set, the green energy, renewable energy. Second set, if you had given time, probably you could have done. So, any other thoughts if you guys have, Siddharth, Rahul?
I think the health insurance set was calculation thoda sa intense tha usme. So that could have caused some problem. The second one was not that difficult, state electricity report wala. वो ठीक था. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर मैं ओवरऑल पेपर को कंसीडर करूं तो इसमें टाइम वाला फैक्टर जो था, मतलब आई डोंट थिंक दैट मेनी स्टूडेंट्स वुड हैव स्ट्रगल्ड विद दैट कि आई एम रनिंग शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम. सो दैट इज व्हाई नंबर ऑफ अटेम्प्ट्स इन क्वांट कुड हैव बीन 7 to 8, right? And accuracy should be high in quant. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Half the passage was irrelevant in both the sets.
Okay, Rahul, anything you have to add?
The first set, in the insurance set, there's nothing difficult to understand. There's nothing complex. It's pure, can you grind out the answers? And most of the good students, they can grind out the answers provided they have the time. Now, if you had 25 minutes in this paper, then you could possibly score it a 10, right? 9.5, 10, whatever, maybe, with one odd silly mistake happening and all, depending on the pressure. But if you don't have time, if you have 15 minutes, then I think you're better off doing one set and then forgetting about the rest. So that time management is a critical part. If you had done AR well, without wasting too much time, and had that 20-25 minutes for quant, but then, as you know, it's not easy to have, to solve the rest of the paper in 1 hour 35 and have 25 minutes left. So in that sense, yes. Yeah, I would say 8 attempts would be a good attempts types now. Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to the most interesting part of today's session, and this is what students are waiting for. And of course, after this, the mentors will go on solving the actual paper. First, we'll start at 6 p.m. with the GK section, Govind sir, Salik sir, followed by QT with Shashank sir. Then we follow legal, and then we move on to the logical and English section. Okay, so what we'll do is let's have individual takes over here. सिद्धार्थ सर क्या लगता है कि टॉप 3 एनएलयूज अगर जनरल कैटेगरी की बात करते हैं? Guys, before I take that opinion from each of the faculty members, let me be very clear. The score calculator is live on the lawentrance.com CLAT-exam-analysis. Please give your inputs over there. The more the data, the better it would be for us to predict. And tomorrow at 4 p.m. we'll give you almost an exact story what is going to be the likelihood cutoff for each of the NLUs and we'll try to do it for the maximum categories possible. So your inputs are very, very important. We have already gone with the score calculator, the first version of it, where you can just input how many attempts and how many you believe is correct. And very shortly, probably around the next 30-35 minutes, we'll go ahead with the actual paper-based score calculator, where you can see the question, you can see the answers by the experts and check whether it's right or wrong for you. The more the data, the better it is. So everything is happening while we invite the comment while Siddharth sir is talking about. I'm putting the link in the comment box itself. Just go there and click on the score calculator. So with that note, Siddharth, your take for the top 3. क्या लगता है कितना जाएगा top 10?
I think if we can have last year ka, that would be reference for everybody. I think last year
top 3
was
for a
95.
general category. Last year top 3 for a general category was 95.
Yeah, but that was out of
But then
130.
factor in
This year it would be
130
out of
वाला
100.
factor.
Right. तो वो है, but still I believe that वो सब चीज को मैं अगर personally काउंट कर लूं तो भी मुझे लगता है कि एटलीस्ट 2 मार्क्स का ड्रॉप होना चाहिए. So I will say 92, 93 kind of for top 3.
And so top 10 makes it somewhere around 83, 84.
Last year से maybe 3 marks का difference, yes.
Well, last year at least one NLU was available at a score of 80.
That could be, clustering थोड़ा सा होगा तो maybe वही 76 के आसपास, 76, 77.
Okay. Rahul, your take?
Slightly different. As for the top 3 NLUs, I'm sticking pretty close. Maybe 1 mark less, so 91, 92. This is more just to be different kind of thing. Because fundamentally here we are talking about the really seasoned campaigners, the warriors, जो जिसको डर नहीं लगता है, adapt कर लेते हैं type, right? But when I go to top NLUs, I think I will take a slightly bigger drop than that, because here you get the students who are quite good, but they are not that they are not shock proof, they are not anti-fragile. So यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा heavier drop compared to last year. So maybe another 4 marks, so maybe 80, 81, and then you can adjust it for the other NLU. Because what we have seen, and just to take you, the typical, the star student is reacting one way, and the above average student is reacting another way to this paper. The above average one is the one is saying, look, why is CLAT ruining my life kind of stuff. The other side is saying, yeah, they were surprised, but I managed 115, 116. So this is, yeah, either way.
Okay. Govind?
Sir, but Rahul sir, एक चीज यहाँ पर आकर के क्लस्टरिंग भी ज्यादा होने लग जाएगी.
जी टॉपर है जो टॉप 3 NL, ये वो लोग हैं जिनको मैथ्स में 20 मिनट थे. That's the prediction game. We will find out soon enough. So,
yeah. Govind, what's your take?
Sir, I have a slightly contrarian take. I think this would be 94 to 95. My reasons are that this year we have slightly more questions which are available for students to attempt. Instead of 113, we have 119. And this year, quant was also approachable for a lot more students. And this year, the AR surprise element was slightly lesser as compared to last year. Erroneous questions were lesser. So I would say 1 mark less than last year is what my take would be, and similarly adjusted for all the rest of them.
Okay, so I think what you said कि this time students had more question, but last year also they had more questions to attempt. थोड़ा सा disagree कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि बाद में पता चला ना कि वो गड़बड़ हो गया है. इसलिए तो किसी को आइडिया नहीं था कि वो सही है गलत है, वो तो बाद में पता चला जब पेपर ओवर हो गया. So then we get to know. I think personally speaking, I would maintain that around 94, 93, 94 for the top three, and somewhere around 83, 84 for the at least top 10 NLUs, because the what Siddharth is saying, वो factor in करना चाहिए, bunching होगा, and this is where I believe the game changes, and somewhere around 78, 79 is what I see for the because this here there will be more of bunching. Actually, this is where a lot of students, probably those who did not do too much of quant, they'll also be coming in here. So that will be there. Guys, small correction over here. The score calculator is going live shortly in another 2-3 minutes. So you can just put in there. But by the way, we are almost close of this session. And as we end, stay there. Don't move.
Just very quickly.
The
Very quickly,
action continues.
Can you give me
immediately after this? Your live paper solving starts with GK quickly. अभी यहाँ से खत्म करती. We'll start with that. So I think this is what we'll maintain at this point of time. आपको सभी mentors का perspective मिल गया है. Fill in your attempts calculator, and shortly when we go with the live, we'll get the information in the groups, the channel. Do that tonight as well, and hopefully by late evening today, somewhere around 9:30, 9:45, maybe 10 o'clock, you'll have the actual and the. अगर पेपर में कोई भी error होगा, so don't rush to do anything. Most likely they'll open the objection platform tomorrow morning. We'll give you the exact explanation why any question should be considered as wrong, or the answer key should be considered as wrong, and so that how to file the objection. So you don't need to worry about that actually. So don't take any hard steps, nothing, because they also charge money for that. So जाके सीधा पैसा नहीं लगा देना है. You need to have to understand कि एकदम गलत होगा तभी accept करेंगे वो. So all the actions continue here on this platform itself. Rahul sir and Siddharth sir will come back once again after almost an hour for the live paper solving as well. Govind sir continues. So just move on to the next tab and click on there, and we'll go there. So thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Use the score calculator tonight. Tomorrow at 4, we'll definitely come out with a precise prediction for the NLUs, what are going to be the likely cutoffs. Okay, so don't worry. And the action for the AILT continues. Tomorrow, take the All India mock AILT. That's very, very important. Whatever has happened today has happened. Don't make that a reason for not doing good in the ILT examination. Remember, NLU Delhi is one of the finest in the country. So see you in the next link where the live paper problem is happening. Thank you, Govind. Thank you, Siddharth, so much for joining in today evening at such short notice after the exam itself. And thank you, Rahul, so much. So we'll see you once again back in an hour while Govind continues from here. Thank you, all the mentors.
Absolutely. Also, guys, please drop a like before you leave this stream, because our backend team is working super hard to bring you all this coverage. So drop a like for them as well, and see you on the GK stream. Let's go for it.